We're going to bring in my next guest, Republican Senator Kevin Cramer of North Dakota. Great to see you, Senator.
Good to be with you. Thank you.
Senator, President Trump may have another rally tonight. Dramatic Super Tuesday. People are talking about for tomorrow. Big shakeup in the Democrat race. Buttigieg, Klobuchar dropping out, paving the way for Joe Biden to take the moderates and take on Bernie. Your take on what's going to happen tomorrow?
Well, I think it's very exciting, actually. I know a lot of people see it as chaos. I see it as democracy being played out. You know, there's nothing that can prove your electability like winning primaries and caucuses. And really, the early primaries and caucuses are less about how many delegates you accumulate and more about how you can demonstrate your electability and create momentum, which is why I think we're coming down to a two-person race, and that'll happen, I think, after tomorrow night when Michael Bloomberg flames out, even having spent hundreds of millions of dollars. Obviously, Mayor Pete and Senator Klobuchar's getting out and endorsing Joe Biden is the establishment's early efforts at trying to, to consolidate moderates. But quite honestly, Liz, I don't think it's so much about philosophy as it is about practicality. I think that I think it's going to be a lot of fun to see where the supporters, the previous supporters anyway, of all of these candidates, where they exactly land. Because I don't expect they're just going to all go to Joe Biden because he's the moderate. I think that some of it will have to do with Bernie Sanders demonstrating some enthusiasm as well.
Yeah, this is going to turn out to, like what you're saying. It's sort of a shakeout. You know, Bernie is expected to get California's 415 delegates,
right,
but half of the Super Tuesday states are in the South. 600 Democrat delegates. We don't know if they're going to go to Bernie Sanders because South Carolina Democrat voters rejected Bernie's socialism, went to Biden. 49% there went to Biden versus Bernie. And it looks like Joe Biden is consolidating the center-lane moderates. He's got a coalition there. What's really striking to me, let's show this video, African-American congregants at the Selma, Alabama anniversary of Bloody Sunday. It's the 55th anniversary. Look at that. They turned their back on Michael Bloomberg. Senator, your reaction to that?
Well, I don't know what all is necessarily behind that, Liz. It's certainly does not look good for Michael Bloomberg. And again, I'm not surprised. He's pretty careless with his words. His history, and even as mayor of New York, while certainly the city seemed to be run fine, he was able to pick it up from a really good mayor previous to him. But he doesn't seem to have neither the charisma or likability, or even really the thoughtfulness on the big stage, and whether that's a major debate on TV or talking to candidates in this high-profile race. He doesn't seem to have it, which is why I think it's coming down to these two people. What's going to be interesting to me is to see whether Elizabeth Warren chooses to do what Senator Klobuchar and Mayor Pete are doing, and that is drop out of the race and consolidate her support to Bernie Sanders. I don't get the sense she wants to do that. I think she's looking for a brokered convention. That creates another whole level of really of both excitement and trepidation for Democrats.
Yeah, the Democrat nomination, Real Clear Politics is saying probably a brokered convention. We're going to hold on to that thought for just a second. I want to stay on this point. African-American voters did pick the correct winner at 4 out of the last 7 presidential elections. That happened since the early 90s. It's been going on. Yeah. Bernie Sanders didn't show up at Selma. He didn't show up at AIPAC. We've got a recent NBC Wall Street Journal poll that shows Joe Biden does lead with African-American voters, 31 to Bernie's 29%.
Well, one thing about Vice President Biden, he understands how coalitions work and that accumulating coalitions can create a majority. Bernie Sanders, on the other hand, is all about a movement. He keeps calling it a movement. It's not so much about coalitions or demographic groups or geographic groups. It's really about a movement for socialism. And this free things for everybody thing has a demographic support base in young people, but it's not very broadly supported. I think it's going to be very interesting, Liz, to see it played out. But clearly at this point, the machinery in the Democratic Party is working the coalitions, aggregating one group at a time into what they hope will become a majority.
Senator, American voters, do you think they're going to go for the president of a rebellion or a revolution? Because we're talking now about you raised this issue, a contested convention for the Democrat nomination. Look at what Real Clear Politics is saying, that Bernie Sanders will not earn between 35% and 45%. He may get that. He needs 50 plus 1, the majority he needs to win. Real Clear Politics, quote, pandemonium is sure to ensue. The Democratic establishment would have to decide whether to endorse a socialist, quote, in which case they would be responsible for the subsequent George McGovern style bloodbath. Your reaction to that?
Well, I don't think there's any question about it. If Bernie Sanders ends up getting the most votes, but not a majority of votes, they go to the convention and they once again, rob him, if you will, of what he believes is what he's earned, and that is the nomination. The risk they run is that his movement supporters don't participate in the election. That would be devastating to Democrats. On the other hand, they can't endorse him because that means a lot of moderates either stay home or even support Donald Trump. And why not? Why wouldn't black Democrats in the South support Donald Trump? He's done more in terms of actual productivity on their behalf than any president previous to him, including Democratic presidents.
Senator, great to see you. Come back soon.
Good to be with you. Thanks, Liz.
Coming up.